Hey everybody, today is April 8th, 2020. Late yesterday, news broke that folk singer John Prine passed away at the age of 73. The media is reporting that this man died of coronavirus, and it's interesting how celebrities don't seem to die of mysterious causes anymore. Everything's being attributed to COVID-19. And just like all of the other deaths that I've been decoding on this channel over the past several weeks, we'll see how this one was entirely by the code of letters and numbers, known as Gematria. When you calculate the names and phrases and compare them to dates on the calendar, we find some incredible alignments when decoding stories in the mainstream media. There's several ciphers on the screen right now, but the most basic and significant one that I teach is called English Ordinal, which numbers the 26-letter alphabet 1 through 26, each letter relative to its position in the alphabet. In this method, the name John sums to 47. Now, this is a number that I talk about when decoding death, often on this channel. The phrase ritual human sacrifice sums to 211 in this ordinal method, which is the 47th prime number. And I want you to think about this man being named John Prine, how similar that name is to the word prime. And I frequently teach about prime number relationships. There's also a prime number cipher, which is essentially the alphabetic order, but with associated prime numbers. Notice how in this cipher, killing equals 211, the 47th prime number. We also get the value of 47 in reduction with the K exception, where K, the master number, is not reduced. April 7th, the date of John Prine's death, can also be written 7/4, which is the ordinal value of the word killing. So the man named John, dead on 4/7, from a disease that's being called COVID-19. In the reverse reduction method, COVID-19 equals 47. John Prine has passed away at the age of 73. Using the reverse alphabetic order, where Z is assigned 1, through A is 26, the name Prine sums to 73. This is the same as the ordinal value of sacrifice. He was also born in the year 46, which is the reduction value of sacrifice. The phrase ritual sacrifice, also 73 in reduction. And it's worth pointing out that he died in Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee, also summing to 73. In reverse reduction, Nashville, Tennessee sums to 98. And his death fell on the 98th day of a leap year. I believe it was Vanderbilt University Hospital where he died, which also sums to 98. And as we've been seeing quite regularly, these celebrities who are dying often have matching gematria with corona. And in these two primary large number ciphers that I teach, called English Extended, this one using the current 26-letter alphabet, structured similarly numerically to ancient Hebrew gematria and Greek isopsephy, and then a variation called Latin or Jewish gematria, which places the characters that are new to the English alphabet at the end. Well, anyway, in these methods, the name Prine equals 224, which is the Jewish value of the word corona. Now notice how corona equals 66 in ordinal, John Prine's birthday has what I call standard numerology of 66. But when we look at his primary birth numerology, we uncover a very deep riddle, and we'll look at several of these riddles. I always start with the basic stuff with the date. But we'll look at how the revelation code actually plays into this, the kill code, and then how it relates to a couple solar eclipses. Now, back in 2018, I made this post essentially predicting more or less that 2020 would be the most likely year to get the next 9/11 event. And no doubt, with this coronavirus shutdown, we are in the midst of the new 9/11. And that's because of its deep roots in the revelation riddle, which I explained in a video that I made, I think, last week. And the reason I made this connection is because COVID-19, in these two primary large number ciphers, has the same gematria as revelation. Now we start with the 850 in English gematria. Notice how his birth numerology, 10 plus 10 plus 19 plus 46, was 85. In Jewish gematria, revelation sums to 1010. This man was born on October 10th, the date written 10/10. Now, if we reduce that Jewish cipher to a single digit, revelation even sums to 47, just like the name John, how he died on April 7th. But this riddle runs even a little bit deeper. If you translate the English word for revelation to Hebrew, which is one of the other foreign language ciphers on my site, along with Greek, essentially the language where Gematria is believed to have originated, revelation in Hebrew Gematria sums to 844. And measuring from this man's birth to his death, we find that he died in his 26,844th day since birth. Now the 44 there is pretty interesting as well. I want to point out that John Prine was a folk musician. Notice how the word folk has the same gematria as kill in 3 of these 4 ciphers. As for the 44 in ordinal, the name John Prine sums to 44 in reverse reduction. The 44th prime number is 193. So when you look into this man's illness, you're always looking for a little numeric riddle. And on his Wikipedia page, which is sourced to an actual mainstream article, notice how March 19th, the date written 19/3, was the date that his wife was first diagnosed, or when she announced that she had tested positive for COVID-19. So notice how not only was this have a prime number relation to 44 like John Prine, but it was on the 19th of the month. And of course, this virus is called COVID-19. What I also noticed is this headline in CNN. Notice how we get a 319 in this same cipher that his name sums to 44, like the date where this all started for his family. Anyway, in regards to the number 19, the name John Prine sums to 109 in the alphabetic order. And in numerology, of course, zeros are ignored, so this essentially represents the number 19. Convenient for a man to have died from COVID-19. I also noticed how folk music equals 109. Now, if you measure from the date that his wife was first diagnosed to the date that he died, it was 19 days later. And again, going back to Hebrew Gematria, this is part of the kill code. The word kill equals 19 in Hebrew. And I thought folk. Yeah, I forgot to put that in. Folk equals 19. Next, I want to look at the eclipse code. And in my very first post about the coronavirus outbreak, back on March 5th, before it was declared a pandemic or anything like that, I explained the deep eclipse riddle behind this whole event. And it all dates back to this 1331 total solar eclipse that I've been posting about since, I think, January of 2018. And in the year 1331, the same year as this eclipse, that's when the Black Death Plague started, and it began in the Chinese province of Hubei in 1331. And Hubei just happens to be the same province that coronavirus first broke out back in December of 2019. Corona with the same gematria as Hubei. So I explained how this is a ritual for the two total solar eclipses that are crossing over the United States, creating an X. The first one in 2017, the second one in 2024. And of course, the corona is the atmosphere of the sun, which is only visible during a total solar eclipse. The date of John Prine's death had that 1331 numerology, the number that's so significant. See my post on that. I think I'll link this below after I'm done here. Now, in Hebrew Gematria, the phrase for total solar eclipse sums to 280, right? And I noticed that John Prine died exactly 280 days after the most recent total solar eclipse from July of 2019. The name Prine equals 28. So does the word kill. Earlier I pointed out how Prine and Corona both sum to 224. Well, the second total solar eclipse in America is in the year 2024. And if you measure from his death to the date of that eclipse, notice how you get 208 weeks. This matches the gematria of the city he died in, Nashville, Tennessee. 208 in ordinal. Interesting, too. 7th of April. Maybe a coincidence. And then I also started thinking, well, this thing has been declared a pandemic for a while now, going on almost a month. So is it possible that they're aligning some of these stories with the deaths of these celebrities? And sure enough, John Prine's death was on the 28th day since coronavirus was declared a pandemic. March 11th, this is a very significant date. Remember how the Japanese tsunami in 2011 was on March 11th? 3/11 is, of course, exactly halfway across the calendar from 9/11. It's exactly 6 months before or after. So what are the odds that the two biggest events in American history happening exactly 6 months apart on the calendar? Remember, 11th of March sums to 9/11 in Gematria. I always found this pretty interesting. But Jewish Gematria reveals the truth about the 9/11 terror attacks. It was a Tisha B'Av ritual. Tisha B'Av, the Jewish remembrance of the two towers, commemorated by an Al-Qaeda terrorist attack, which sums to 9/11. Of course, 9/11, the 156th prime, New York, sums to 156. Also, the false flag number 156. 9/11, the biggest false flag of all time. Well, perhaps not anymore, depending on what you think of coronavirus. And a lot of different theories about what's really happening, and certainly the least likely of which is what the news tells us, which is that there's this previously impossibly communicable disease that people can pass simply by walking by each other. No symptoms, no nothing. In reality, the reality that I live in, germs can't be spread. You can't get sick from somebody unless they're not only showing symptoms, but they cough or sneeze on you. This idea that there's a germ bubble surrounding us and that we need to completely stay away from everybody or we could die is complete insanity. And true fear has really collapse this nation. And what's sad is that the people have really allowed it to happen without questioning very many things, because too many people become fixated on the idea of death as a negative thing. And what we try to remind people is that through things like numerology, we remind people that this is no accident, this is no mistake. Nothing that happens here is random. It's all by design. And the idea that the mainstream media pushes is that this virus is random, when in fact Bill Gates, Melinda Gates, their foundation, alongside the World Health Organization, which they fund more so than any other nation outside the U.S., when they decide to run a pandemic drill that basically mirrors exactly what we see play out in reality within a year. Not enough people asking questions, too many people just throwing masks on, wearing gloves, and going about their day as if every single person is a possible threat to their life. And they keep saying this is a new reality. This is a new reality. Despite the fact that we're going to get through this, they keep telling us it's going to be over. We'll get through this. Why is this a new reality? What else is going to come down the line here within the decade? Something's going to have to change within the next 10 years at the very latest. And who knows how far they're willing to push this current one. We're currently within a 1-month safer at home order, whatever that's called in Wisconsin. They're closing down the parks and crap. And, it's really insane. But certainly the least likely of which is that it's just this, really contagious, really bad cold type disease. Does it have anything to do with 5G? I guess that's really up for debate. However, the fact that this all happened at the same time as 5G, which was rolled out in Wuhan, China, right after the World Military Games in Wuhan, China. You got to think too, like, it's possible that there isn't a connection. I think 5G is definitely bad, don't get me wrong. We're living in an electromagnetic soup beyond what we can probably comprehend. Not only does it fog our vision of the stars overhead, but it also fogs our insights into our minds and our dreams. People don't often remember dreams anymore these days, and a lot of that has to do with the electromagnetic frequencies that are swimming in the air, whether it's smart meters, whether it's cell phones, Wi-Fi, LTE, and now, unfortunately, 5G, which is many, many times over stronger than 4G and completely unnecessary. I don't know of anybody who was struggling in life because their phone internet wasn't fast enough, the 4G wasn't working well enough for them. And they've marketed 5G to the masses. If you watch the Super Bowl, I think it was, we saw some commercials where 5G was being promoted as this lifesaver. Paramedics were using it and all this stuff. And it's like, well, why are they framing this up so heroically if it's just something that we need anyway? Like, what are they masking? You always know how they manipulate emotions, especially when it comes to music and commercials. And I can't help but wonder, that's certainly part of the conditioning that goes into it. So my hope is that people don't take much more of this, and I don't know how much faith I have. It's going to have to, depend on the people who are awake. And it's a big test for us, but one that hopefully we can live up to, because I guess the point I was getting at earlier is that through numerology, we see nothing's a mistake. And when we know nothing's a mistake, when we know that we're coded this way, we know that things are no mistake. The fact that I just happened to find Gematria and became hooked on it for going on 4 years now, after many years of jumping from one hobby to another, to find out that my name equals 142, just like Gematria, that was pretty spooky. My first name equals numbers. Computer skipped there. My last name sums are the same as letters. 99 and 90. So it's like, how is this all possible that I just happened to build this calculator and then discover these things about myself? It's because reality's not what they told us it was, or what they led us to believe it was. We're living in something far, far deeper than that. Some people call it the Matrix. We're definitely within some sort of creation and reality itself responds to our minds. We're part of this whole Earth consciousness in this sub-atmosphere, and it's when you look at numerology, you kind of get a glimpse into that window to an extent. However, of course, I'm not the first person to come across this language. This is certainly what the mainstream media, the dark Kabbalists and occult, are very aware of. And, who knows what's going on with these media stories? Are people really dying on these dates? Did this guy fake his death? Makes sense for an older musician who's probably not making much. Their money is if it's in the stock market, it just tanked. Maybe they just wanted to get out. Do a death by the numbers, sell some music, whatever. That's one possibility. This person could have been sacrificed for real. Whether it's a 5G thing, I'd be very skeptical because this type of thing happens all the time where people get sick and then die by the numbers. That's been happening for years and years. I've been doing posts on it for years. So the fact that this is happening by the code doesn't necessarily mean anything new is happening. Again, that being said, do your own research. Listen to your heart on 5G. Don't pay too much attention to me. I'm just the numbers guy. But all right, that's going to do it for my rant of the day. Got to get it out of my system since pretty much the whole world around me has completely lost their fucking minds. But thanks to you guys for jumping in and being with me on this night. I noticed the live viewers have dropped a lot, and I don't expect people to come back for every video, but I wonder if anyone's really getting my alerts. All right, guys, that'll do it for this one. Stay strong out there, everyone. Hopefully this is as rough as the test gets, but could be more to come. Peace, love, God bless. Adios.